Welcome to Being Humankind, with your hosts Brian, Mike, and Neely. We explore what it means to be human in a time of disconnection.
What is the greatest lesson that you learned that wasn't from a book or that you weren't explicitly taught from another person?
Well, what I just talked about, but is there another one? Maybe just patience. I think that that's something that I just had to learn on my own, and the degree of patience that I have for other individuals and things. I think that that's something that I think we all learn on our own. Nobody teaches us patience, right? But for me, yeah, definitely, I was a very patient person and impatient, and then now it's just about time. It's like, are you just going to waste my time, or are you going to really bring something to the table that's going to be fulfilling from both ends, engaging from both ends? And that's where I've become a better listener. That way I can decipher the BS, right? And then that came from just time, just dealing with more people and things that I wanted to get done and how I was going to get them done, and communicating with other people. Yeah, it's just, that's patience is something that I learned without a book or somebody else teaching it. Later, I would pick up on it when I would read a book on habits of focus and communication, or being at the lodge and listening to the advice of the older brothers, like, oh yeah, back to patience, communication and patience. And that's where I picked up on it. Well, that's where it kind of solidified that more to me, but it wasn't taught to me. I think I just went along with it until I found the balance that kept me sane, I guess.
So what's the one thing that you struggle with maintaining that patience? Like, what's the thing that you're like a kid in a candy store for?
Probably just delegation. I think I'm not the best delegator, because I always say, well, if I call him to send out that email, and by the time he sends it out and the time I'm going to spend talking to him about the email, I think I could just send the email now myself, right? Like, it's like, that's the kind of person that I am. I'm like, well, there's going to be more wasted time in communicating than just getting it done myself. And sometimes I just dig myself into a hole after that. So I think with me, one of my weaknesses is that ability to delegate and feel confident that who I'm delegating to is going to be able to execute the job in the similar or better manner than I am. And that's been something that it's, as I've gotten older, it's been easier to delegate, but sometimes it feels like it's almost like being a control freak, but not, I don't know. Like Brian with Masonicons, I'm sure, has confidence in delegating to others, but then realizes, oh, they're probably not going to pull through, so I might as well just start doing the work myself before it bites me in the ass later. And I've felt the same way, where I'm like, well, I'll let you do it. I'll give you the assignment, and you go off and do it. But if I'm not seeing those markers of communication back to me, or those things getting done before the deadline, then I quietly and slowly start working it on my end. And I would say 90% of the time, I'm glad I did, because it doesn't fall apart as bad as it would have as it would have if I would have just allowed the other individual or individuals to get it done themselves. And that's sad, but that's my reality. And it doesn't always happen, but sometimes, but it does,
I think a lot can be said that it's your passion, and for somebody else to buy into that isn't going to result the same way, right? So first off, they have to buy into it, and then buy into it to the level that you want them to, for them to give you the result you expect.
Yeah. And I think special. I think this is why masonry is so interesting, because nobody's getting paid. It's all volunteer. I think John Maxwell said, because he volunteered in his church, and he said the best leaders are the ones that motivate the people that have no incentive to get out of this except the emotional incentive of putting it together. And when I read that, I was like, yeah, it's so true. I would rather hire somebody to run my company that's been working in like nonprofits or was running a lodge, motivating individuals that were not being incentivized, as opposed to some big shot CEO that, was running Nike or whatever, because there's something to be said to be able to communicate your passion to somebody else, a group, and they are on board on it, and then they want to see it realized. And as you will attest to, it never gets realized the same way you originally envisioned it, but hopefully it becomes something better than you originally envisioned, or at least on par, close to what you originally envisioned, because it's more fulfilling when the group is there to share in that wealth, if you will, for sure.